heart-wrenching when you hear somebody, how can somebody like that live on their own? I think that we all deserve equality, and part of getting there is educating the world of what we do. And I'm really grateful for this opportunity to be able to share this experience and for other people to see that where we're hitting these corners, and now we have COVID on top of it. And I know for me personally, I can say I'm working 3 jobs right now and I'm still struggling to make ends meet. This is what we have. This is what the world is facing.
Welcome, everyone, to the Casandra Properties podcast. I hope everyone is warm and safe. We're broadcasting today on a very chilly post 2-foot nightmare of a snowstorm we haven't seen in a couple of years. And we're joined today by 2 wonderful guests, wonderful individuals. They work with the Person-Centered Care Services. This is a non-for-profit here on Staten Island. They're members of the SIEDC, which is how we connected. So thank you to the SIEDC for that and the good work you guys always do. And basically the mission is to create social change by supporting people with disabilities on their search for identity and acceptance. Now, this goes very deep, folks. This is a topic, and really the core reason that we started this podcast was to be able to connect some dots for folks and to give people an opportunity to communicate. So we're joined today by Jaclyn, Tocco, and Nicole Forgione, both with PCCS. And we're going to walk through basically the whole program, some of the history. Of course, we're going to get into learning a little bit more about Jaclyn and Nikki. That's like kind of our thing. But then we're going to talk about some of the very real challenges that they're experiencing out there, particularly on the housing side of things. And hopefully we can deliver some value and connect some dots for you. So with that, Jaclyn, Nicole, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having us today.
My pleasure. So let's talk both about you as individuals. You're both doing God's work. It's really an honor and a privilege for us to have you here today. It takes remarkable people to do remarkable work. And from everything that we've come up with, you guys are doing nothing short of remarkable work. So when we have different guests on from different walks of life, we talk a lot about the origins, of what is in the fiber of their DNA that makes them who they are. So to land in this type of work, I really believe in my heart, it takes a very special person. So let's start with you, Jaclyn. You are also a native Staten Islander. We're few and far between, it seems now, but I'm also a native Islander. Talk to us a little bit about how you ended up at PCCS, and when did this kind of passion for helping the disabled, when did that really start to come to the surface? Has this been a lifelong thing, or when did that first come to the surface for you as you've landed in this role today?
Okay, so I grew up in Staten Island, and I went to College of Staten Island for my bachelor's degree. I think like everybody else, I was just trying to figure out kind of like what I really wanted to do. You're very young at that age and you really don't know what you want to do for the rest of your life. So I went for sociology, and then I realized I really wanted something that was a little bit more hands-on. I did a little bit more research and spoke to my advisor, and I actually enrolled into the social work program at CSI. In the social work program, when I first went in, I really wanted to work in a school with young adults. That was kind of my goal at the end of the social work program. I did an internship at Legal Aid Society for juvenile rights, which I loved. And I went on to grad school. I went to Monmouth University. And in grad school, you also have to do an internship. My internship that I was originally at didn't really last long at all. I kind of needed like a quick placement to get my hours in. And I connected with one of our directors at PCCS, Alexa, and she gave me an internship there at PCCS. And this was in 2015-16. So this was my first time really working with this population. I didn't have any experience at all. Some of the things we're going to talk about later, like stigmas and stuff, I definitely was part of that. And, I learned very quickly that those stigmas are just things that you're not really sure until you're in the field, how accurate or how, I guess, judgmental people are, including myself. So that's kind of how I started working with the population. I interned at PCCS for a year. I then went on to graduate grad school, and I worked for another nonprofit agency that supports people with disabilities in employment services. And then I happened to go back to PCCS about a year and a half ago. And now I work with Nicole I oversee 4 different programs. And our ISS, which is Individual Support Services Program, is a housing program we're going to talk about. That's one of our programs that is very, very rewarding. Gives back a lot, gives people with disabilities an opportunity to live independently. That's kind of how I got here.
I have to say, you're very young, and to have that level of self-awareness is pretty remarkable. That's something that most individuals, some never achieve that level of awareness, but most don't until later in life. So I applaud you and clearly you've got a track record here of working for the people, doing the good work for the people. So I commend you for that. I think it's really honorable. I think that we need more of that in today's world, considering the insanity that seems to be going on. So kudos to you for that. What part of Staten Island did you grow up on?
Primarily, originally I was from Bull's Head, and I moved to Huguenot.
Kind of mid, and then you slid a little south. I'm a North Shore boy myself.
Yes.
I'm a West Brighton boy. So, all right. That's a great roll up, and I'm glad that we have that context. Nicole, you are not a native Islander, but we'll excuse that. So
Brooklyn to Staten Island.
Yeah, my wife made the same move. What part of Brooklyn were you in?
Bensonhurst.
Bensonhurst. Okay, my wife was, I don't know, Pete, where was my wife from? Like Heights, 78 and 13.
You should know that. No.
Yeah. So, and where are you on in Staten Island now?
Now I'm in Bull's Head.
Bull's Head. So same thing. Did you have a similar path? I mean, have you always kind of been involved in this type of work, or?
Well, I'm in the field about 18 years. I started this very young. I started at 16 kind of being introduced to the field. I had friends that I always kind of ran with, an older crowd. And I saw what they were doing, and I was like, what do you do? What do you mean you take care of people? Like, what do you mean you take care of people with disabilities? Like, how does it even work, Yeah. So I decided to go to work one day. My friend had asked her boss if it was okay if I went to work with her, because at that point I was in CSI going to college. And it motivated me because I saw the need that was there. I saw the care, and I'm a very caring person. I mean, it's just first nature for me. If I could give the shirt off my back, I will, don't have to know you. And what was great about it was, as I was developing, I never knew that this would be my career. So I started out as a direct care support, person who provided services as a direct support professional. And it was rewarding. And from there, I just kind of kept growing and developing my skills and learning more. And I went to school, and I wanted to be a teacher at that point. And then I realized that teaching just wasn't for me, because this job kind of is everything in one. I am a teacher, I'm a nurse, I am a family support, I'm an advocate, I am a painter when I need to be, I'm everything when they need me. So I found that very rewarding. And when you see people coming out of like homeless shelters with their families, and they're being placed in apartments, and the look on their faces when they can have their first Christmas together, that's what I'm here for. I'm here to see families grow and develop and live out their best life that they possibly can with the quality of care and support that they deserve. Been through a long journey. I mostly worked in group homes in the beginning, which is people that live together. At that point, there was like 16 bed IRAs. Now, where we're kind of heading is not having so many people in a home. We're trying to scale it down to 2 or 3 people rather than 16 beds. They have their own living space. There's no more shared bedroom living. And then that kind of came in PCCS. I came here in 2013. So I'm there quite some time now. And they're like, hey, here's an ISS program. This is what it is. They laid it out to me. You have to help people find apartments to live independently on their own with the right supports in place. There's nothing that we can't do. We're going to figure this out together. And from there, we just grew and developed our program. And it's been a blessing. It's nice to see everybody grow and flourish. People that they said could never live on their own are living on their own, and they're doing it day in and day out. And, with the right supports in place. So with their community rehabilitation worker who goes in and helps them with cooking, cleaning, or, maybe they don't, everybody lives for the first time on their own. And I don't know, when I first moved out, I didn't know how to do certain things, like I didn't know how to change a light bulb or something silly, so we all need support. And that's where we are now. So it's really great.
So for those of you in the audience that are not aware, and I say this to Jaclyn and Nicole with nothing but the utmost respect, the financial rewards in the non-for-profit world are not setting any records. So when you see good people like this doing the work that they're doing, and they talk about taking the shirt off their back, and they talk about really doing it to help, I can assure you that that is absolutely genuine. While the financial rewards are not, akin to some of the other things that you both may well have been doing, the rewards must be unimaginably just a whole nother level of feeling and emotional connection that I really think is amazing. You're transforming lives is what you're doing, and you're helping those that need it the most. So for both of you to go down this path at such a young age, and to do it out of sheer love for your fellow people is really remarkable. Again, I really appreciate you guys and what you're doing. Keep up the great work. And with that, I think it's important that we peel the layer back a little bit and let's share with the audience, what does PCCS do? Give us a really, hefty kind of overview, because I want to connect dots in as many places as I can. I know you provide a lot of services. So if the audience can kind of listen up here and see where they can be of help, I think that's really important. And then we can get into specifically the housing piece that we really wanted to do a deeper dive on today.
So,
who wants to go first? There we go. Jaclyn, step right up.
So yes, we do offer a wide variety of services. All of our services are pretty much ran through what's called OPWDD, which is Office for People with Developmental Disabilities. So there is certain eligibility criteria that a person must have in order to receive services from us. Some of the services that we provide, we have day habilitation, where it's Monday through Friday, 9 to 3. The people that we support are in groups and they do volunteer sites. They do Meals on Wheels. They do fun activities, going bowling. Now with COVID, things have changed drastically. We've been doing a lot of virtual stuff for Dayhab. We drop off packets. We have virtual classes. We pick the packets back up. We just started kind of using our building again to do very small groups as well, which has turned out really well, because the people that are in Dayhab missed each other. They need that interaction, and they miss the staff missed them. So that's Dayhab in a very small nutshell. That's for people who are 18 and older. So once people transition out of high school, that's another program that they could attend.
So how does someone become eligible for a Dayhab event?
Typically, the person would have to be diagnosed with an intellectual disability before the age of 22. That usually happens within the school year, so they usually already have a diagnosis. There's something called the front door session, which is ran through OPWDD. The person would have to go through the front door session. They get evaluations done. They collect any other evaluations that were done prior, and that's how they would determine whether somebody is eligible for the services or not.
Okay. And how do they contact you guys to engage?
So we have an intake benefit specialist. Her name is Lucia Rossi, and if anybody's interested, they could reach out to her and she could walk them through the whole process. She could give them the information for the front door. If they already went through the front door process, they're given what's called a care manager. So then in that respect, we would just need the care manager's information and some documents from the care manager to enroll them.
Okay, great. Nicole, walk us through some other programs.
So we have specifically the program that I oversee is it's called ISS and ComHab, but ISS just stands for a subsidy program. So we offer rental assistance as a subsidy. We have community rehabilitation, which is staff that go into the homes to take care of people with developmental disabilities. They work on goals that are geared towards their needs. We're very person-centered. So what I mean by person-centered is everything is about the person. If the person wants to learn how to go for a driver's license, if the person wants to learn how to tie their shoes, like on a different scale of levels. We also have respite that Jackie oversees as well. So we have a range. We also have some group homes. We have 2 group homes on the island. We have STEM pathways to employment, which they provide career supports. So they will give them the training that they need in order to go out and obtain a job. And to stay with the job, they'll have a job coach that will go and assist their needs. If maybe they're not understanding how to outfile something the right way, the job coach will check in with their supervisors, and their supervisors will explain to the job coach, we need to have Johnny learn how to organize this correctly. So, and then that's something they would take and work on.
So in the instance where, for example, I think the driver's license was a great case study. How does this work? Does PCCS assign one individual that goes and undertakes this request, and is it that one person every day, or does it change over? Is there continuity? Just walk me through the details there.
The DSP rate, I would say, the turnover rate is quite often high, unfortunately, with DSPs. I think it's a stepping stone for most career paths for people. But when you do have a stability in case, I mean, longevity, some people last about a year, 2 years. They do have set schedules that will help them kind of continue to work on their goals. Their goals don't change until they're ready to change their goals. So they are measured goals where we can help the person identify, I'll use a driver's license as an example. Maybe we'll start out with teaching signs and what the signs mean. And then maybe from the person knowing how to identify certain street signs, now we can teach them, the right foot goes on the gas, this is your brake, and slowly but surely teach them how to drive, and how to prepare for their driver's license exam and the permit test, and take it from there. So people, the staff do their best to stay with the same shift each time.
So
I'm sorry to cut you off, but during our interview process, let's say we know that certain people need staff, we do look at their goals, and we wouldn't hire somebody to work with a person that we support on cooking if the person who we're interviewing doesn't know how to cook. We do try to match up the people that we're hiring with the people we support with similar goals or hobbies. Sometimes they have certain preferences, they only want a driver, they only want a female or a male staff. So we have to take that into consideration as well. But we do our best to pair based on goals.
So how from like a volume perspective, at PCCS, is there a shortage of folks that are available to provide these services, or, what does that look like?
So we definitely had some struggles during COVID with staffing. That seems to have increased now, thankfully. It really depends. It's hard to give a straight answer. The person supported can also choose someone to be a self-hire for them, which means if they have a friend that they want to work with them on their goals, they can hire them. The only restrictions with that is the person cannot have the same address as them, and it cannot be a legal parent or guardian. So that's another way that we pair people as well. It could be a cousin, an aunt, a sibling if they don't live in the home. So that also helps with pairing. I would say we're always looking for DSPs. It really depends on the cases we have available. Some people just want a staff Wednesday for 1 hour, and it's very hard to find a staff that's willing to go work for 1 hour. But I would definitely say we could use some more staff. So if you guys are interested, go to PCCSNY.org and apply for our positions, because we're always hiring.
Is there any special licensing to become a DSP, or is there any sort of things that you have to go through first, or can they just go straight to the site?
They could go straight to the site and apply online. It's the whole application's online. You do have to have either GED or high school diploma and be 18 years or older.
Okay. Now, Nicole, you head up, as you had said, the ISS, Independent Supportive Services Division. And from what I understand, you're helping people find apartments and housing. And these are folks who in many cases had previously lived in shelters and nursing homes and other places. And in many instances, they were destined to stay there. And now you actually have people that you're placing living independently, which mentally must be such an unbelievably rewarding thing, and promote overall health for these people. And you have college graduates now on the roster. I mean, can we talk a little bit about the housing? Well, not a little bit, really. I wanted to talk a lot about the housing component here and really walk the audience down what the process looks like, what the challenge is, and how we can help.
So I don't know where to begin, but I will begin somewhere. So how it starts out is after the person would go to their care manager that we spoke about earlier, and they would say that I'm interested in applying for this subsidy. The care manager then would reach out to us, and we would get the referral form. I then complete what's called an informational session, just so the person is aware and they're able to understand what exactly they're applying for and the responsibilities of the person that is going to be required in order for them to live on their own. From there, we complete an assessment, a clinical assessment, to ensure that the person, we're not just sticking anybody into an apartment, right? So we want to make sure that the person is capable and able to live and support themselves on their own. From that point, I reach out to OPWDD and I ask them, can we get a conditional approval or some sort of documentation? So a lot of folks always say, well, where's your packet when I'm going through other realtors, or, a lot of people think right away Section 8, they think city FEPs. This program, as much as it is like that, it's not like that. So I'll explain further. We get to the point where now we are searching for an apartment. What we run into is the housing markets. 1 bedroom is going anywhere right now between, you could see the prices, $1,500 to $1,700. Unfortunately, the people that we provide services to are on a fixed income through Social Security. Social Security's payout is very, very low for one person. With that being said, the challenges that we face is the housing prices. Our subsidy can cover up to $1,324, so $1,324 a month. That's not always the case. The person is still responsible to pay 30% of their income, and anything over $1,324. So if we're finding a 1 bedroom, or a studio for that case, even some studios I see are almost $1,500 right now. We're doing the math. It's leaving these folks with $200-$300 a month to live off of. That's not including paying their National Grid, their Con Ed. So those are the challenging things that we've been facing. I've also had a lot of landlords come to me, unfortunately. I don't know if it's so much, I don't like using the word ignorance, but it's heart-wrenching when you hear somebody, how can somebody like that live on their own? I think that we all deserve equality, and part of getting there is educating the world of what we do. And I'm really grateful for this opportunity, because to be able to share this experience and for other people to see that where we're hitting these corners, and now we have COVID on top of it, and nobody's moving in, nobody's moving out, people are afraid to go into certain buildings. We also face, some people are in wheelchairs. There's not enough accessibility on Staten Island, or there's not enough people that are willing to work with a program like ours for accessibility needs. And the accessibility 1-bedroom apartments are up to $1,700, $1,800, almost $1,900. So because somebody's in a wheelchair, their rent has to be 3 times higher. And I don't think that's right. So those have been the struggles that we're facing, is finding accessibility, finding apartments within the ranges of what people can actually afford, which I'm sure it's not just people with disabilities that are going through this struggle either. I know for me personally, I can say I'm working 3 jobs right now and I'm still struggling to make ends meet. So this is what we have. This is what the world is facing, not just a person with a disability. So yeah, I mean, the other struggles that we face, people understanding that it takes time. You can meet the person, interview the person. If you're not comfortable, the money comes in from the person is, the lease is usually between the tenant and the landlord. PCCS's name is not on the lease. That's, the state's requirement. So that's how we have it in order to provide the subsidy. It is a government subsidy, so it will come monthly. It will be in your direct deposit. We offer, a lot of people say, well, what happens if OPWDD goes somewhere? That's a question that I get quite often. OPWDD is not going anywhere. It's been around for beyond years, probably just even longer than Section 8 at this point. So there is no landlord bonuses. That's the downplay of our program, where Section 8 does have a landlord bonus. And I realize a lot of realtors will say, well, I need the packet. And I'm like, we don't have a packet. The requirements is that it's a legal family, a multifamily home. If it's in a residence, if it's a building capacity, we need to have working heat, hot water, smoke detector, carbon monoxide machine that works. That's really our requirements. So it's important that people know that too, because like I said, the packet thing becomes frustrating because there's nothing I can show you. Like, this is just a tenant as if you or I were moving in. So to remove that piece.
So many things here.
So many topics.
The 1324 is the number, regardless if it's a studio or a 4-bedroom. That's the number.
That's the number for a 1-bedroom or a studio.
For a 1-bedroom.
We predominantly find people that need 1 or 1 bedrooms. 2-bedroom is 14. It's 14 and change. I think 1463 around there. The 3-bedroom, I believe, is like 1,800 and change. I don't have the exact numbers on me right now, but.
And that's the max that they could get. That doesn't mean everybody's getting that. Like, just because you're in the program doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to get a subsidy for that amount.
So you have a single mother who's coming out of a shelter with 4 children, and they need a 3-bedroom, but it's possible that they can't even afford a 3-bedroom. So we'd have to, remain them in a shelter until we can find somewhere that they can live.
So, at a time when, let's call it what it is, we've seen a mass exodus out of New York. I tour buildings in Manhattan all the time, from the luxury buildings to the affordable buildings. I was in a complex just, was it Pete, Tuesday, Wednesday? I don't even know what day it is anymore. One day this week. And it was a sizable complex. and there were 2,000 units vacant because folks had kind of picked up and moved out of Staten Island out of Manhattan rather, when coronavirus hit, and haven't been back yet, and they're not really sure where this is headed or where it's going to go. They don't know if the leases are going to remain, if they're enforceable, if people are coming back. But the point is that we went from having a housing crisis on one side where we still don't have nearly enough affordable product on Staten Island or in New York City at all, to now a situation where, because of the pandemic, there's a lot of folks who have left and are not coming back. So have you had any discussions with elected officials about trying to maybe backfill some of these units and giving an opportunity for you? I mean, is there like a list? Do you guys have one person ready to be placed, 10 people, 100 people? How big is the problem?
So the problem is big when you add all the nonprofits together. I have reached out to the mayor's office for people with disabilities to see what they can do to assist us with this matter. We reached out to local officials to say, support our cause. We were facing budget cuts on top of this recently, where they were going to do a 20% withhold from all nonprofit organizations for renting subsidies. Thank God that went through. So we face so many different challenges on a daily basis. And I just feel like some is always better than none. So if you have these vacant apartments, as a landlord, I own property as myself. And I always say that some is better than none. If I can help somebody be in an apartment, yes, they can't give me $1,800 because that's the going rate, but I can get $1,300 and have a wonderful tenant with wonderful people behind it supporting me. Isn't that better than nothing? And people, unfortunately, I try to change the view. I can't change everybody's view on life. But I try to get people to really understand and see that these folks, they come with a lot. They come with a lot of good things along with them. They're just like you or I, and with all these vacant buildings that are out there, hopefully someone's hearing this that will turn around and say, hey, you know what, this is great. If she has 10 people that need 1 bedrooms, we also have a capacity limit of how many people with developmental disabilities that we can place in one area. So we wouldn't be able, if you have a building of 20 people, we wouldn't be able to place 20 people in the building. It has to be integrated. Because we moved away from, if I put 20 people in one building, it sort of becomes a
like an institution.
Institution, yeah, thank you. So it becomes sort of like an institution, and we don't want that. We want to be as mixed and involved with the community. I don't even like using the word community because who really uses that word on a daily basis? But we want to be integrated, right? We want to be together, and that's the goal eventually, is to have everybody together.
So that's one of my biggest arguments against fully affordable buildings. The cross section and the socioeconomic crossover and the connections and just the interactions that occur in an 80-20 or a 70-30 building, when you have people of all different walks of life, all different economic backgrounds, all different cultural backgrounds. That's how dots connect, right? That's where these opportunities are created. And you have an opportunity for people that come from very different walks of life. They can kind of peer into how others are living and what their issues are. And I agree with you wholeheartedly. When you start to take that cross section out, and because you want to increase the affordable count, the damage that's done, in my opinion, far outweighs the other solutions, where you need to have that cross section. You need to have people, when we were doing the Empire Outlets RFP, we were talking with Pastor Seawood, who has since passed. And as part of our community outreach, he had said, we have a bunch of kids that want to learn how to play instruments. And we have the church, we have the place for them to do it. but we can't get our hands on instruments. What we have is so outdated, that they don't work anymore. And one of the people from the development team said, well, wait a minute, I sit on, I don't remember what board it was, but they were like, we throw these instruments out at the end of the year and we replace them. Boom, there's a connection, right? That never would have happened if you didn't have, and I've always been a big believer in make everyone come sit at the table, talk through it, because dots will connect and good things will happen. So you guys are facing a genuine housing crisis at this point, and I have to pray that there are people in the audience that can look past just the bottom line. And look, I get it. I understand the pressures, especially today. Coronavirus has had such a devastating impact on the real estate market, on every market. And we're seeing now the other side of the shutdowns, 20% cuts, for non-for-profits, and things get tighter and tighter and tighter. This hit every market, every business. This just crushed everyone. And while I certainly understand the reasons for some of the things we did, we have to get back to work and we have to get back open, because the economic impact is so far and is so wide and is so devastating. I'm not sure we're going to recognize what New York looks like in a few years from now. So for the audience, if you have apartments that are vacant, these amazing folks have people that are looking to find some independence.
Yeah, I'd also like to share a story that's moving. It was very moving to me. It was one of my first moves that I did with PCCS. And this person, he was a young male in his early 30s, living in a nursing home. They told him he can never go anywhere. This person now has been living on his own. He has graduated with his master's degree. It still brings tears to my eyes. So I'm sorry, I get very emotional. But they told him he can never do it. He can never leave this facility. He needs ongoing care. And like I said, with the right supports in place, he was able to do it. And he's came such a long way. And those are the moments that we live for. We're all human. And we're all human. We're all going to need something at some point. We're all going to be disabled. We're all going to get older. And that's the point, is that we're all going to eventually, whether we end up on Social Security when we're older, whether we have a nice savings plan or not, we all end up back to where they are on a daily basis from birth. So that's the deepest thing I can discuss with you guys.
So you're getting me choked up now.
Sorry.
I know.
Where does the majority of your funding come from?
It comes from the state. So from OPWD, it's a government funding. It comes from the government.
And I assume that there is a way that folks can make donations directly through the organization?
So yes, they can go to PCCSNY.org and they can make a donation there. We also would take donations for housing stuff. So like sheets, pillows, but obviously pretty new stuff, if that's possible. For sheets and bedding and towels and utensils, things you don't think about on a daily basis. Pots and pans end up going, cooking supplies. Our folks, they use a lot of food pantries and things like that to make it day to day because of the struggles. A lot of the people in our program actually have jobs and they lost their jobs during COVID. So now they're trying to make ends meet too, and they have families of their own, and they're trying to homeschool their children who need supplies for school. So, it runs really deep, our program. It runs very deep.
So how do you guys cope with, I mean, I'm like fighting very hard to not fall apart. And I'm talking to you for, 40 minutes here. How do you guys keep it together? I mean, are there supportive services for you? Are there people that you guys get to talk to? I mean, this has got to be an unbelievably emotionally taxing job.
Me and Nicole talk to each other.
We all have each other. That's the great thing about PCCS, though, I would say, is that it is and will always be like one of the best teams I've ever worked for. The support there is unbelievable.
Yeah.
Whatever we need, if someone needs something, we stop what we're doing. You could trust me. We all have those days at work where you want to pull your hair out of your head, But to relate to it, like you end up laughing later about it. Like, oh my God, remember last week when this happened? And now look at us. Now we're moving and grooving again. Or I was just joking around today with another person in PCCS and was like, first the pandemic, now we get hit with snowstorms. Like the moves just keep getting pushed back, and we're just fighting. I feel like we're fighting the world, and I'm sure everybody feels that way in their own way right now with this, everything that's going on, trying to make sure everybody wears their mask and stays safe and vaccinations. And it's so much goes into it, but the support, we have each other.
Yeah, our team is very, very supportive, and we're a bunch of social workers at PCCS. So you could imagine that we all have the very same mindset, and, we're all supportive for each other. If we need anything, we'll pick up the slack for somebody else, even from upper management to, the DSPs. It's really like a big family, to be honest. It's really nice.
So you could say what you want about Staten Island. One thing that I've learned over the last 45 years I've been here is that we do come together in times of tragedy. I've seen after 9/11, after the '08 crash, after Superstorm Sandy especially, remarkable acts of kindness, remarkable acts of charity. What message do you want to send to the business community, to the overall listeners of the show? And what specifically would you ask for them to do? Is it financial donations? Is it, I know that we need the housing stock, and I'm certainly going to endeavor to try and help solve for that with you within my network, but what's the best way that people can help?
I think the housing is definitely one aspect of it, and financial donation at this period of time would be most beneficial, where the agency can put it in a good use to whichever program needs it the most right now. But any help,
Yeah,
it takes a village.
Yeah, and I would say, you could help in so many ways. That's why I think it's really hard to pick one. You just by referring somebody to apply as a DSP or a staff member of PCCS is helpful, so that we could give somebody a staff to work on their goals. Financial. We did a fundraiser a few months ago to buy technology for our programs, because now that everything's virtual, things are a little different. But we provided technology, iPads, to help with doing schoolwork. We're doing like a photography group, so cameras. We asked for what else? Oh, like specific programs that they could put on their computer or device, apps. Buy apps so that we could do these things with them virtually. There's just so much that would be helpful. And I think it's very hard to choose like one way. Apartments, we need apartments, of course, to place people to live on their own. Donations, like Nicole had said before, if you have any utensils, pots, pans, sheets, anything, household items. If anybody has anything to give, you could reach out to us and we'll make it work. We go pick things up from people and drop them off. Nobody has to go out of the way. But I think anything anybody might have to give, we could figure something out.
And if you're not sure, just ask. You can definitely email us and just ask. And, we can let you know if there's a need for it. We're not going to take if there is no need for it. Yeah. it would go to good use. We may even say, reach out to this agency because we know that they're looking for the need. So we can help each other. That's what we tend to do, is just really help each other.
So I'm going to ask for you to, again, give the contact information for, is it different? If it's household items, is it this person? And if it's apartments, is it this person? If it's a check, is it that? Who are the specific people? Is it one person in general? I want to make this as easy as I can for the audience to step up here and to help their neighbor in any way that they can. So if you can one more time, just slowly go through that again, who the contact people are.
So we have an info email address, and they can, if you have a donation, if you have somebody maybe interested in services or a specific program, or you have somebody that you want them to apply, you can email this email address, which is info, INFO, at PCCSNY.org, and it gets filtered out and sent to the direct party that it needs to be sent to. So it's info, INFO, at PCCSNY.org.
Okay.
That's probably the easiest way.
Is there anything else that you guys wanted to cover today?
Not
I know this has
necessarily.
I think we covered a lot.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
have.
there's so much.
If anybody has any questions, or you want to learn more, feel free to reach out. They'll direct the email to us. If there's anything, you think of something later on, maybe we can definitely reach out, touch base.
Well, I can promise you, as a company, you'll be hearing from us, and we're certainly going to do what we can. And again, folks, I know it's an impossible time. It's just an impossible time for everybody, financially, emotionally. We're exhausted, and everyone has taken their hits here, but it's easy to cut checks and it's easy to step up when you're rocking and rolling, and it's really hard to do it now. So if there's any way that the listeners can do something here meaningful, look, like you said, we're all human beings. We're all, the same. And we'd be well served to listen to these two young ladies because, I have to say, Jaclyn and Nicole, you're remarkable people.
Thank you.
God bless you for what you're doing. We'll be in touch. If there's anything specifically that we can ever do, please don't hesitate to reach out, and please keep doing what you're doing. You're setting an absolutely amazing example for the rest of us, and God bless you both. Thank you very much for coming on today.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yes, thank you very much.
All right, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. I think this is the most important podcast we've done to date. So if we can, please, let's get together as Staten Island always seems to do, and see if we can't step up and help out one more time. Thanks, everybody, and stay safe.